Hey everybody. I wanted to take it aside and introduce myself a little and tell you how I got here. My name's Cosmic M, the M stands for Matt, and the name itself is a Futurama reference. I've been into video games since I was a tiny baby, and playing them ever since I could grip the controller and start working the buttons. When I was born, my dad had an NES, and I'm not exactly sure what he played. I'd have to ask him. Because all the games that he had... Oh, I definitely want that. All the games that he had back then, he either sold or he gave away. I know for sure he had Mario 1, because everybody did, and I also know he had Star Tropics, because he still talks about what a great game that was. Oh. And that's, like, super specific, and I don't really remember being the one to show him Star Tropics. He must have found that on his own. So yeah, he had the NES, not a Super Nintendo, and then the N64 came out when I was 4 years old, and my dad got one as a birthday present. So the N64 was very solidly my formative console, whereas the SNES was the generation that I missed, so I'd have to go back later on in life to play those games. Probably starting in about high school and continuing on to the present day. See how many of these I can get. Playing double is harder to stay alive, but it's just so much more fun to have double firepower. You're just so exposed. Bonus stage. I love having it for these bonus stages. The N64 was totally amazing. Some of my favorite games to this day came out on that platform. And even at the young age, the transition to 3D was mind-blowing and wild. Games like Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, Mario Kart 64. I played a lot of Banjo-Kazooie. Also Mario Tennis. I never owned Mario Golf, but I played a lot of Mario Tennis with my friends. And I'm also a big fan of actual Major League Baseball. And I had a Ken Griffey Jr. game that I learned all the teams and originally the MLB rosters from playing. Boxed in. Nice. I don't play too many sports games anymore because I watch a lot of live sports and I feel like when that's done, I'm ready to do something else. But as a kid, I just played everything. And so the sports games felt like a lot of fun as well. Those games all blew my little mind and set me on the path that I'm on today. And finally, the 6th generation of consoles was coming out, and so the Gamecube launched in 2001, so I must have been 9 years old. And even when I was 9, I knew enough to know that I really wanted to have a Gamecube. And by the time you're 9, the kids at school are sort of developing their own preferences and sorting themselves into GameCube, Xbox, PS2 camps. And I remember having those little kid console war type arguments and getting super heated about it during recess. But I knew I wanted a GameCube and ooh, let's see, get him. Nice. Ooh. Wow. Am I gonna get them all? Wow. The reason I wanted a GameCube was because I knew that if I wanted to keep up with the series I loved and keep playing Mario and keep playing Zelda, that's what I had to get. And Nintendo had me totally hooked in my youth, and I loved every minute of it. I felt very vindicated. I think Nintendo completely popped off in that generation. We had it super good. You had your Melee, and F-Zero GX, and Thousand Year Door, and Double Dash, and Metroid Prime, Wind Waker. We had it great. Oh, the last guy. I also played a ton of NBA and NFL Street and also NFL Blitz, both head-to-head and co-op with my friends. That was kind of it for sports games for me, but I had a lot of fun with those, and the over-the-top Midway and EA Sports Big. I have a lot of happy memories of playing those as well. These days, like, I'm obviously willing to try anything, and as long as the game's good, I'll play it, but I kind of found that I've settled more into Twitch-type games, about, like, sort of shooters, platformers, action games, than strategy. It's like a little too much thinking some of the time. So used to play everything growing up, but now a little less sports and strategy these days. Oh, that kind of surprised me. But yeah, if it's good, I'll play it. And we had it great in the GameCube days. I rolled right onto a Wii. I remember how crazy and hectic that launch was. I remember the South Park episode. I just needed it so badly. The hype was at critical levels, was so high. And I remember the shortages and needing to get one so badly, but all the stores around us were sold out at launch. And my mom was actually the hero. She found a unit at a store multiple hours away, and she was super cool of her. She drove all the way to get it to make sure that I had it on launch. Unbelievably cool of her. So I had the Wii. At the time, and looking back on it, I think I have a more favorable impression on the motion control experiment than most people. I could go into it more, but I just tend to appreciate... I think it's a big reason why I'm such a Nintendo fan, is that I like when people attempt to change things up. Oh, I've got to be careful now. Ugh. And at some point, I also got a 360 as well. I want the... Yes. That 360 actually ended up red ringing one day when I was watching Adventure Brothers with my friend. I don't really remember when I got the 360 or when it died, but I definitely didn't get it at launch, and I definitely... Oh, wow, I got lucky. And I definitely did have it by the time Halo 3 came out. But anyway, just to say that I now had 2 things for the first time, and I was about to have 3 temporarily, because a big moment was in 2008, my parents finally got me my first gaming computer. I don't really know if you could even call it a gaming computer, so much as like a non-ancient setup, but I say gaming computer because it was the first time that I ever had at my disposal a computer that could reliably play games that had come out at all recently. Oh. Ow. I also don't really remember what computer we would have had before that, but I just remember the idea that the most recent game I could play was Warcraft 3, which I liked a lot, but was not what you'd call a recent game in 2008. So I get the computer, and one of the first things that I really wanted to play was the orange box. I knew that the port on Xbox was not as good, and so I wanted to just play it on PC the way like Gaben and nature intended. Good. Oh. And that got me into a roughly 7-year phase where I was playing... I can't go into that now, unfortunately. Where I was playing TF2 almost exclusively. And I loved Team Fortress. I loved my time with the game. It's the only game that I ever no-lifed and just found to be infinitely replayable. But from roughly 2008 to 2015, I barely played any new releases, which was very different from me. Oop. Just because I was playing almost TF2 exclusively. Oh. Get him. Oh. But yeah, I loved every minute. I would do it again, but yeah, at a certain point I just wanted to play new games again, so I finally quit in 2015 or 16ish. Also, during when I was going through TF2 in 2012, the Wii U came out, and even as a lifelong Nintendo fan, I thought the Wii U was a huge letdown, and that was mostly because I really did not like the Wii U's tablet. As much as I said I was down with the Wii Remote and the motion controls, the Wii U tablet just was not fun to play games on that thing. I gotta pay attention now. I feel very boxed in. I need an extra life so I can do this. Oh. That was a pretty good run. As a lifelong Nintendo fan, it was the first Nintendo console or handheld that I did not feel the need to buy on launch day one. And the only thing that made me get it was eventually when Smash 4 launched. Part of me was saying, it's cross on 3DS. Like, you could just play the 3DS version and it's fine. But there was another part of me that was saying, I don't think I can live on a planet where there's a new Smash entry and I'm not able to play it whenever I want and be involved. And so that side won out, and I just got the Wii U at that point. But there were, looking back, a bunch of solid releases on the Wii U, but I really just, the tablet was so not fun for me that I pretty much just bought it as a Smash machine and got lucky that Nintendo ported most of the significant games to Switch in the end. Let me get this. Come on, go double. I want the double. Is he gonna eat me? No. I was fully PC gaming at that point. I was hoping Nintendo would go back to their winning ways and release something I could get excited about again. They obviously did that, and more so with the Switch. It's another topic for another day. But I'll just suffice it to say that ever since the Switch came out in Breath of the Wild in day one, I've much more heavy played Switch than my PC this generation, and that was not the case for the entire Wii U. And probably solidly the second half of the Wii's lifespan as well, because by then I was just fully in TF2. Get that. So then it's getting closer to the present day, and the two things I want to touch on are YouTube and Twitch. It's funny that when Twitch and YouTube came out, I seriously did not get it. I said I've been a lifelong video game player, and the operative term is player. Part of the reason that I like games so much compared to movies and shows is that I like when games there's feedback and I feel like I'm doing something or kind of involved, whereas if I'm watching TV, I feel like I'm just sitting there and the colors are randomly changing on the screen and I don't play any part of it. So my thought has always been, okay, well, if I have any downtime, I want to play video games and I want it to be me. I don't want to sit there watching somebody else do it. Like, that's why I not really into watching TV. And my brother tried to get me into it, and I wouldn't really listen. And it's funny that I didn't get it for a couple reasons, because when I was in high school, my dream was to either open a video game store, to put the local GameStop out of business, or to become a video games journalist reviewer guy. And it kind of seems like looking, I didn't notice at the time, but Twitch and YouTube were kind of the pathway to doing that, short of getting hired by GameStop or IGN. And I just didn't really get it. Finally, though, because as luck would have it, in 2000, the pandemic hit, and so we were sent home, and we had a lot more time on our hands. And I started watching Super Mario 64 speedrunning. And that really got me into Twitch, and I still watch a lot of Mario to this day. I watch some Twitch, but still mostly, oh, that goes close, still mostly Super Mario 64 speedruns. Oh. I enjoy it, it's like very I enjoy the skill, and it's very relaxing for me. And then here we go. I started getting into YouTube as well. Again, mostly for Nintendo-related review or analysis and content, but I kind of understood what my brother had been saying about it all along. And fast forward to this year, I married my girlfriend a few months ago, who's now my wife, and it was actually her who inspired me to get into YouTube and start following my dream that way. So I think sometimes you grow up and you start going through the motions in life, and in doing so, you kind of lose... Close. You sort of lose sight of what it is that you ever wanted in the first place. And there's a bit of that, and there's also a bit of your mind kind of working against you and like feeding little excuses like, oh, what's the point? You're gonna grind and spend all this time making videos, no one's even gonna watch it. Or like, oh, you missed your chance. If you wanted to do YouTube, you should have started 10 years ago when it was more open. And it was really my wife who inspired me and got me to stop making excuses and to just say, like, hey, we're both going to make channels, we're both going to have a lot of fun with it, and let's just see where this thing goes. And so far, I have had a lot of fun with it, and I know that as the channel grows and it becomes more of a community, we're going to make a lot of new friends along the way. And it's kind of like when we started and grew our TF2 server. It's like very thrilling to watch it grow up. So you can check my wife's channel at the bottom of link to the bottom of mine. As for me, I'm going to start by doing daily Let's Plays, and I'm also going to have a weekly, more produced content, probably on Sundays. A little bit of, it could be reviews, it could be an analysis or a prediction video or commentary, or this sort of channel intro like we're doing now. But it's just something to break up from the Let's Plays. And the other thing I want to say is that I welcome all comments, and I'm super open to feedback. So that could be something as simple as the game you want me to cover, or a type of video you want me to make, but also I want to get better, so any kind of constructive criticism, anything on your mind really, I'm open to hearing that. And you know, I just want to get better, and hearing it from the audience is the best way to do that. So whatever's on your mind, definitely know. Don't worry about hurting my feelings. Anyhow, I'll just end by saying that my ultimate goal for this channel is to just make everybody feel happy when they're watching my content. So obviously not any game, but part of the reason why I love gaming so much to this day, boom, is if I'm playing a game that I truly connect with, like an Ocarina of Time or a Team Fortress, I actually like really bliss out on a visceral level that it's like this next level happiness feeling that's a little bit hard to put into words. And if I could just make the people watching my stuff feel 1/10 as happy as what I just described when I'm playing one of my favorite games, then I'll know that I've done my job. And so, anyway, let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for watching.